Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Perry, episode 124. It's been a while, it's been a couple weeks before we talked to Perry, or since we talked to Perry. So we're going to get him on the line right now and we'll talk with him about what he wants to talk about. I know he said he wanted to talk about Gaza and a few other things, so let's get him on the line.
Hello.
Hey Perry, welcome to the podcast tonight. It's glad
How are you, Rudy?
I'm glad to have you and your ducks here on the program.
Yeah, they want to be celebrities, I guess. For some reason, they won't stop quacking tonight.
How are you, my friend? It's been a long time since we chatted.
You know, it's been so long that the nights now are so perfect. I can come outside and smoke a cigar, and that's the reason why you're hearing the ducks.
Oh, nice. I wanted to have a smoke today, but I did not get the chance. So I know you wanted to talk about a few different things tonight. Why don't we start from the top? I mean, there's a lot going on right now. I don't even know where to start. We just had the hearing with the DOJ hearing with Pam Bondi, who absolutely gave it back to the Democrats, including Adam Schiff, including Tricky Dicky Blumenthal, and Senator Padilla from California. So that was interesting. But we'll start wherever you'd like to start.
Well, since I didn't get an opportunity to see that today, why don't you delve into that, because that wasn't on your morning show?
It hadn't happened yet. So there was a congressional hearing with Senate. I guess it's a Senate hearing, but it's a congressional hearing of the DOJ where they were grilling Pam Bondi. Specifically, the topic was what I did cover today, which was the fact that Biden's FBI subpoenaed the phone records of senators wondering what they were doing around January 6th. They were trying to weave a conspiracy narrative that just didn't exist. There weren't government officials who were involved in January 6th. That was an organic thing, as we well know. The only inorganic thing was the Fedsurrection, which the FBI was involved in as well. But the best thing about Trump's cabinet is the people he put in charge are able to stand their own in front of anybody, whether it's Maggie Brennan or whether it's congressional grilling from the likes of Adam Schiff or George Stephanopoulos, or whoever may go up against these people, whether it's Kristi Noem or whomever, RFK Jr., they usually put the interviewer or the interlocker to bed. Excuse me.
And why is that? It is because, unlike Trump 101, he has personally selected each and every one of the members of his cabinet, right, as opposed to 8 years ago, where he was a total neophyte as to the inner workings of Washington. And he depended on all the gentlemen gems of the Republican Party to help him assemble a cabinet that he thought were the right people based on the recommendations that came from people like Mitch McConnell,
right,
and like Paul Ryan, and on and on and on. And what he found out was, no, they're not interested in my administration being successful. What they're interested in is being nice with all the communists and Marxists who hate our guts. And so by the time he figured all this out, they had set this trap with Russia. And look, it's all history now. The only good thing about discussing it, not necessarily tonight, the only good thing about discussing it in front of the cameras is people are being reminded of all the illegalities that the Washingtonians perpetrated on the first Trump administration.
Right.
And when you
Did I lose you? Might have lost Perry there. Hello? We're going to get him back on the line in just a second. Can't do this. Yep, there he goes. All right, let's try to get him back on the line. I knew this wasn't going to work out tonight. I just had a feeling. I tried to get him on the line earlier. Wasn't quite able to. And this is what happens. I blame it all on Rumble. We might have to restart on YouTube because my feed for Rumble is already fucked up. It's not. I don't even know if I'm streaming right now. Hey, are you there? Nope. Let's try one more time. Yeah, was not feeling too confident about the stream tonight. Perry, are you there? Hello. Yeah, not working. Hello. Yeah, and it keeps hanging up. Yeah, and my stream, the stream on Rumble fucking sucks. I streamed on YouTube today. No problem whatsoever. I feel like I almost should just restart on YouTube. I'm just getting so frustrated with Rumble because I could see the recording and it hangs up a little bit, my OBS's. But you look at the feed from Rumble, or you watch back on Rumble, it's awful. So I still can't. Perry, can you hear me? No, it says it's calling. Not allowed. Not allowed to have the podcast. It won't even ring now. All right. I'm going to restart my phone. I am not well liked by the powers that be, the internet gods. Yeah, and this stream is fucked up. I'm trying to adjust the stream. Well, there's a stream looks a little better if I put it down to 600. They won't let it go any lower than 600. I'll put it down by 3. It won't suck up as much bandwidth. I do not like technology. So we have to check my Wi-Fi calling, make sure it's on Wi-Fi and not cellular. Try to give him a call back. Doomed to fail. The feed from Rumble looks like shit. It fucking sucks, man. And that my phone. There we go. It just shows an R.
You're back.
Yeah, what the fuck happened there, man?
I don't know.
This is out of control. All right, let's get through your list quick because I don't want to go too late here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the government shutdown in Gaza and Ukraine and Portland and Chicago and Virginia, the AG race where Jay Jones said some awful things, and the new rough and tough military. Those are the things you want to get to. So let's start with the government shutdown, Perry. Are you there?
Okay. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Good. Excellent. As far as the government shutdown goes, I keep seeing all these polls, and then I go back and I look at these polls to get into the demographics, and they're not sharing the demographics, which means these polls are all full of shit. When you see that all of a sudden more than 60% of the citizenry of our country now is blaming the Republicans, especially after we have taken the time, starting with leadership and going all the way down to podcasters like yourself, pointing out to the American people how this CR is no different than any one of the 13 CRs that the incompetent Biden administration ran the federal government on for four solid years. And every one of those prior 13 continuing resolutions, the Democrats, they were, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, they were all clean bills. Continuing resolutions, we're going to fund the government at existing levels and then debate, the nuts and bolts of what it's going to take to put a real budget together, which of course they never did. And we're pointing all this out to the American people. And the Democrats keep lying. And they're being called out for the first time. They are being called out as liars. The word liar is being used face to face. You are lying. And people such as George Stephanopoulos trying that same bullshit. And he was told on his own show to his very face, you're lying. And all he could say at that point is, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. How in the world can the polls in the last 14 days suddenly shift from a 65% of all the people in the country blaming the Democrats to now blaming the Republicans? I don't believe it. And the reason why I don't believe it is what I've just said to you and your audience. They're not sharing the demographics, which means they're full of shit.
Yeah. I do think so. Yeah, I think that, in fact, that people know that a clean CR is a clean CR because recently they found out exactly what a continuing resolution is, and that we've been operating under that scheme for too long already. And so maybe people are blaming the Republicans. Frankly, I don't give a shit. I mean, if this is their tactic to try to shove, expensive socialized medicine down our throat, I think it would work for a little while. I don't think it's going to work in the long run.
Well, it's not going to work in the long run if this were to drag on until the holidays. And the reason why it won't is because, contrary to what the Democrats continue to say about 4 million Americans being thrown off of Medicaid and Medicare, Medicaid, is going to be proven to be a lie because, number one, the money that they're talking about, and by the way, people like Ro Khanna got caught in the lie last week. If I'm not mistaken, you did point that out. How, first he said it's not true about how it's not going to affect anybody. It's millions of Americans are going to be thrown off the rolls. And then he said, well, it's not going to be it's not that much money. Well, wait a second. If it's not that much money we're talking about, then we're not talking about 4 million people. Or are we talking about 4 million people? And the people that are going to be thrown off the rolls are going to be the illegal aliens that have been stealing from the American people.
Right. Or the fraudsters. Or the fraudsters.
Yeah. Right.
Or really the people that won't meet the work requirements also that are healthy bodied. What do you think about Trump came out yesterday and said he's going to possibly negotiate to end the shutdown, negotiate with healthcare?
Personally, I think it's a ploy. I don't think he has any intention on giving the Democrats what they want. I think if he does what I suspect, he's going to call them into the Oval Office, and he's going to have the cameras there. And he's going to say something to the effect of Schmucky Chucky. Okay, Chuck, why don't you explain to the American people your argument? And then I'll explain to the American people why you're lying. And let's see what happens. It wouldn't be the first time he's pulled that.
Yeah, and it'll be
whether he'll do it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be successful.
Right. And so the important thing is, I think in his mind, he's saying to the American people what he's always said: everything's negotiable. Let's negotiate.
Let's make a deal. Yeah.
But one thing I am not going to do as president is sign on to a plan where millions of illegal aliens are going to remain on the Medicaid rolls. Ain't going to happen.
Right.
And so, and then the other thing he's going to say is, you're more concerned about illegal aliens and fraudsters being able to take advantage of the system than you are about paying the men and women in our military.
Yeah.
You're more concerned about these fraudsters and illegal aliens than you are about the civil servants who are going to be furloughed and possibly fired because we can't afford them anymore. You're going to continue to play this game because you think you and your minions in the lame brain media will help you get through this. Well, I'm here to tell you it ain't going to happen.
Right.
And so I believe something to that effect will take place if, in fact, they have that meeting in the Oval Office within the next 5 to 8 days.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
Yeah, probably. I think the Democrats are trying to showboat on the only policy issue they have ground on, or they have a standing with the American people, because the American people say, yeah, I want cheaper health care, because Obamacare really didn't deliver on that. So But once they find out what the real nuts and bolts of their proposals are, they might change their tune. So let's talk about Gaza. You think Hamas is going to honor the agreement? You think they're going to release the hostages? Trump is brokering peace once again. What's your stance on that? What do you think Bibi's going to do?
Well, let's first start with the fact that Trump has allowed Hamas to play him yet again. Now, 9 months ago, once he had assumed the office again, he said to the world, this is not going to stand. Give us our people back or I'm going to take you on. And he wasn't talking about from a communication standpoint. He was getting ready, the way he proposed that statement, to send the Marines. Somebody in his administration, whoever it was, got him to not follow through on that threat. Well, did Hamas give us back our people? No. So here we are, 8-9 months later. The Israelis have gotten, with the help of the Gulf state Arab nations, they've made it clear there's nowhere for Hamas to go, meaning they have run out of supporters. Their number one supporter, of course, has been the Ayatollahs in Iran. Well, they've been neutered, so they're not going to get any more help from Iran. They have been isolated, and they are being made, regardless whether people are willing to accept this or not, they are being made out to be the murderous thugs that they are. I'm not talking about Israelis and Jews. I'm talking about Palestinians. This is not being widely reported, although it is getting out. There are Palestinians who have been able to get video out. It has been shown on different podcast shows over the past month that the food trucks are getting in. We know that to be true. The Israelis have been showing everybody, look, 500 trucks went in. What happened to all the food? We didn't take it. And so they've run out, metaphorically speaking, they've run out of bullets. They don't have anything left to use. And that's the reason why they've come to the bargaining table. But I honestly believe all of this is nothing more than a game that they're playing to steal more time. More time, more time, more time. Trump said last week, you have until 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time
Sunday,
before you run out of time. Well, we're now heading into Wednesday, 3 days past his deadline. What is that? What message has that sent to what's left of Hamas? Well, we can keep dragging on. So sooner or later, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's this weekend, or next week, God forbid, he's finally going to say, they haven't agreed. Bibi, do whatever you got to do. I'm done talking.
Right.
It's going to come to that. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
The Israelis have already moved forward with the beginning of a rebuilding plan on the north side of the Gaza Strip. Now, that doesn't mean that bulldozers are going to come in next week and start leveling what's left of the rubble and start clearing roads and start laying infrastructure. But they are now putting that plan in place. And that is being done behind the scenes with the Arab Gulf states who are going to be part of this international body, which Trump has said, I'm going to be not the titular head, I'm going to be the active head of. And I honestly believe once that starts, then they're just going to finish the job. Now, I've spoken to my Israeli friend who is retired IDF Special Forces, We've had cigars twice now since all of this came to be. And, you know, he continues to tell me, and he has the benefit of being a native-born American. He was born and raised in Brooklyn. At age 20, he made what's known as Aliyah to Israel, and the first thing he did was sign up for the IDF. And he had a career there. He served 25 years in the IDF. His last tour was being a liaison for the Israeli Defense Forces at the Pentagon. That's how he retired. And he said to me, you know, Perry, what the West doesn't understand is what we think as a society is not how things are done in the Middle East. And the sooner we, meaning America, comes to terms with the fact that things will move forward in the Middle East the way people in the Middle East want them to be, the sooner there'll be peace. It is coming. Peace is coming. It's just not going to come here as fast as we want it. But we're well on our way.
Right. Right. Well, that's good to hear that inside information. So let's move on to Ukraine now. Has been out of the news for a while. The only time I think of Ukraine is when I see liberals waving Ukrainian flags. So what's
that's about the only thing they're good for. That and the burning of our flag.
Yeah. What's going on? What's going on there that you specifically want to address? I just want to probably preface it by saying I am very worrisome of these drone incursions into NATO countries if they are indeed occurring, and it looks like we're set up for a Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Well, thanks for stealing my thunder. Let's move on to the next subject.
It is coming. It is coming because we don't know if it's Romania or Poland. It seems to be Poland, and then it seems to be Romania. They set up Romania to be the fall guy there in for the NATO countries. But Poland, it could be Poland. But if you want to move on, we can move on from Poland to Portland.
Sorry, I choked on my smoke there. Before we move on to Portland, I do want to just expand a little bit with regard to the potentially coming Third World War. I am very concerned. I said on our last podcast, I believe I said during that show that, you know, Putin is a very angry Russian right now. And, you know, he is not going to negotiate a peace as easily and quickly as we want, but he definitely wants peace. Well, he's pushing all the buttons. And what you're speaking of with regard to the incursions of drones, and let's not forget, they've been sending MiG-30s and I think MiG-35s into NATO space. And look, I'm a civilian. I only know what I know about military maneuvers based on what I have learned from people who have served in the military. And that is the purpose of what he is doing is to test two things: the European resolve and the Europeans' abilities. And before you launch an attack on a potential enemy, you need to be able to determine where their weakest points are. And when you're talking about air warfare, that's how you establish where you're going to strike, how you're going to strike, and when you're going to strike. And I think that's what the Russians have been doing over the past month. And it's the reason why they're sending all these rockets. And, you know, Trump, justifiably so, has said, okay, I'm taking the gloves off now. We're going to provide Tomahawk missiles, and those Tomahawks can reach Moscow. and I'm sure he is saying to Pooty Poo, look, you are going after innocent civilians now. That's a bridge too far. If you don't stop that, they're going to be armed with long-range capabilities. We're going to provide those capabilities through NATO, and it'll be on your head that Moscowites die.
Yeah.
If that's what you want, Vladimir, I'm here to give it to you.
Yeah. I think Russia was probing Trump almost as much as NATO, because Trump played good cop. I want peace. Here, I'm going to give you what you want. And Putin, as many people in the East do, they take advantage of the good cop posture, and they go a little further, because they only react favorably to force and not
Correct.
and not to a pleasant diplomacy. And so I think as soon as we take a more forceful posture, I think things might change on the diplomatic scene.
Well, you and I can only hope so.
Yeah.
I have the same thinking you do there.
Yeah. Well, let's hope.
Enough about Pooty Poo.
Yeah. Let's talk about who is the it's the governor of Portland. I always forget her name. That silver-haired lesbian. No, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
You
could see my ducks weren't happy about that.
That's the governor of Oregon, not the mayor of Portland.
Correct.
I can never.
And the mayor is a neutered. Well, he's a eunuch, is what he is.
Yeah. It's not.
But
Ensley, is it? No, he's gone.
No.
It's some other loser. So what do you want to talk about Portland? I mean, obviously ICE is under siege. They don't want to do anything about reining in Antifa, who obviously the Democratic brown shirts have taken over the streets of Portland for some time.
That's right.
For some time now, many years.
That's right. Again, you took my thunder. I was just going to say that from a historical perspective, if you look at what happened less than 90 years ago in pre-Nazi Germany, before the Nazis had taken power, they used their brown shirts, that are known as our Black Bloc stormtroopers, that are now marching in the streets of Chicago and Portland and San Fran and Seattle. They are the military arm of today's Democrat Party. And so the Democrat mayors and governors are doing worse than just simply back and doing nothing. Through their rhetoric, through their lack of willingness to work with the Trump administration, they are telegraphing to their, using air quotes, brown shirts, go ahead. Nobody's going to stop you. Do whatever the hell you want. Just make sure you do it against federal authority. And you have people in downtown Portland. You know, you don't have the lame brain media interviewing anybody from downtown Portland. You have podcasters that are interviewing people from downtown. I'm talking about people who live within 5 blocks of the federal building.
The siege.
Saying, right. It is a siege. It's 24 hours a day. And they're saying, I can't sleep. I can't go out of my building. I have to worry about rocks and bottles being thrown at me when I go to work. This is not Trump's doing. This is the mayor's doing. Now you have the they don't call him the chief of police. The head of the Chicago Police Department, I think it was Sunday,
Chief of Patrol.
Issued a stand down order in Chicago when ICE requested support.
Yeah, they were under attack. They had been boxed in by 10 vehicles. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And now the thing that people have to take into consideration here is it's not that the federal authorities couldn't take on this riffraff. It's that they do not, under federal law right now, have the authority to arrest. They can push all this rabble out so that they can get their vehicles out, but that's all they can do. They cannot arrest. And you have the chief of patrol lying to reporters. No order was issued to stand down when we have the proof. We have the audio tape. Sorry, we don't use tape anymore. We have the audio, and we have the written order that was transcribed. Somebody within the CPD provided that, whether it was to Fox News or whoever, but Fox reported it this weekend. We already have the evidence. Now, what does this mean in the coming days? If they do not begin to work with the federal authorities, Trump is going to issue an insurrection act, and then God help them.
Yep. Well, it's obstruction.
That's what's coming.
Yeah, it's obstruction. It's a roundabout way of obstruction. You let the residents obstruct, right? Because they should be arrested for federal obstruction. I think they have the powers to arrest them for that. If you keep federal officers from enforcing federal law, that's obstruction. Now, they're playing a tricky game, Brandon Johnson is, and his police force, that they're not going to be cited for obstruction because technically they're not obstructing the officers. They're just doing it in a roundabout way. But I think the day is coming where they're going to go a bridge too far and obstruct officers, whether Brandon Johnson gives the order because he's establishing ICE-free zones. How are you going to keep ICE out of those zones? If you try to keep ICE out of an area, that's obstruction. You're going to fucking prison.
Correct.
So let's hope they get all excited about what they're doing and cross the line, and then Brandon Johnson could go to prison. So I know you wanted to talk also, unless you have another thing about this, I know you wanted to talk also about the Virginia AG race and Jay Jones and his threatening, and the fact that Democrats are not asking him to step out of the race.
Well, they're not only not asking him to step down or stand down, they're supporting him. There are Democrats, elected Democrats, and I wish I could cite names. I can't right now, but there are elected officials from around the country. I'm talking about people who earn their paycheck inside the halls of Congress, who are saying, keep going. So my pet peeve is not that he has stepped down. My question is, after what he has first lied about and then reluctantly acknowledged and then ultimately apologized for, is grounds not only for him to no longer be a candidate for the most the highest law enforcement office in the state of Virginia, or the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm not only concerned about that. My question is, he is an officer of the court. And as an officer of the court, for you to say you would love to see bullets put in the head of a state representative, Speaker of the House, and you wish death upon his wife and children, I got news for you, Rudy. Those are grounds to have your law license revoked.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm surprised nobody in our party has said it is time for him to lose his ability to use that license, because he's now wantingly pushing for the assassination of an elected official and the death of that official's family. You can't hold a law license after making a statement like that.
Yeah.
Whether it was a private statement that was made public or it was a public statement to begin with.
Yeah.
So I no longer am worried about him being able to run for office, which he shouldn't. He should no longer be an officer of the court.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Democrats responded by, who hasn't wished death upon their political enemies? Come on.
Well, you keep calling us Nazis, and you keep calling us fascists, and you keep calling Trump Hitler. We've already had 2 unsuccessful attempts on that man's life. We've already had the closest thing to, for a Jewish man to say this, people would probably laugh, but the closest thing to a 21st century Jesus Christ assassinated. And you don't see anything wrong with these actions.
Yeah. Not only that, but especially in light of all that, coming to the defense of statements like Jones made,
Right.
way out of bounds. They haven't, after the first assassination of Trump, they reeled it back for a day or two. Now they did right after Charlie Kirk. They were like, yeah, he's a fascist. He deserved it. And you know what?
They're still right.
Yeah.
They're still saying it.
Yeah. Fuck them. That now they're going, because after the first Trump assassination, they stopped for 2 days and they go, well, why are we reeling this back? We have to go full bore. And they went on. And I think the last thing you wanted to talk about was the new military. Pete Hegseth is whipping them into shape. And I think the biggest thing is, and I don't want to steal your thunder again, but is the new the new fitness standards.
Well, it's not the new, it's the old.
Right.
Being renewed. And it's long overdue. I have said before, and someday I'm going to look up who created this quote. He was a historian. He was also a career military man. And more than 30 years ago, this same individual was talking to one of my heroes, Rush Limbaugh. And the conversation, he said, Rush, what is the purpose of a military? He said, well, it's to protect the citizens of a country. He said, yes, but how does that entity, meaning the military, conduct and fulfill that obligation at times when they are called into? And Rush didn't have an answer. He said the whole purpose of a military, the only purpose of a military, is to kill people and break things, and to do it more effectively than any opponent can do to you. And when you lose that purpose, which is what's happened to our military over the last 25 years, we become a Meals on Wheels program. That's not what the military is for. It is something the military can do in times of emergency. That's not the purpose of a military. The military, its purpose is to kill people and break things during times of war, and to do it so effectively and so quickly that the opponent, the enemy, has no choice but to surrender. And when you lose that focus, as has been the case with our military over the past quarter century, lose everything that entity is for. All Pete Hegseth is doing is restoring that credo to our military, and thank goodness he's doing it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I also agree in stopping this DEI trans-identifying aspect of the military. I'm not saying that they shouldn't serve, but it's like going to a Catholic school. You put on a uniform, you're there to go to school, right? You're there to you're there to learn. You're there to make the American military an effective fighting force. You're not there to show off your drag queen skills or to parade around and saying I'm a fat lesbian, I deserve to be in the military. You don't. If you can't perform the duty in line with the military's core mission, which is military readiness. Excuse me.
You hear that, Mark Milley? So
I want to know I want to know what white rage is.
He still is looking for. He hasn't been able to figure that out quite yet.
Yeah. White rage is being pissed off at your military for even talking like that. It shouldn't even be in your lexicon.
Well, to further the point we were making on this, Pete Hegseth was asked the question by, of all people, what is her first name? Senator Hirona.
Oh, Maisie.
Maisie.
That bitch from Hawaii.
It goes to show how stupid this woman is.
And she is.
She had the same woman who was months earlier making the argument that there is no difference between men and women, had the audacity to say to him within the past 2 weeks, whenever he was back on Capitol Hill recently, well, you want to change the physical standards for our fighting people, our military people. Well, what about the women who can't live up to those standards that men can live up to? And he answered perfectly. Then I guess they won't be serving in that position.
Yeah.
There are plenty of positions in the military that women can excel in, but one of them isn't being in the infantry on the front lines. And my whole point, I was laughing when this interaction took place because, like I said, it was only several months ago where she was, wait a minute, there is no difference. Now you're worried that men can't live up to the same standards that men are commanded to live up to? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You just sunk your own battleship, baby.
Right. It was like that LA firefighter who said, if I have to carry you out of a fire and can't do it, well, you shouldn't have got yourself in that position in the first place. And that's really the main point, the physical test in the military isn't always lugging a machine gun. It's, can you pick up your fellow infantryman and carry him off the battlefield if he's wounded? And that's that's the biggest test.
There are women that are fully capable of living up to that standard.
Yeah.
If they want to be in the infantry, I'll be the first person to demand they have that right.
Yeah.
I get it. Sister, you want to be in a foxhole with the boys because that's what you think you've been called to do, and you can live up to that standard, I am going to insist you be given that opportunity.
Okay.
But don't tell me just because there aren't enough women in the infantry, therefore we have to create slots for you who can't live up to that standard so that men could carry a wounded warrior back behind the lines of fire. Shouldn't have the option.
Yeah.
That's not what the military is about.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to close it out there, Perry, because I'm losing you. You're kind of breaking up there, so this seems to be a good time to let it go for now, but we're going to get together again next Tuesday. Thanks for joining me tonight, my friend, and we'll talk again next week.
Rudy, it's so great to get back in the saddle with you. It's been too long, and I'm looking forward already to 7 days from tonight.
Yeah, we'll get to it, my friend. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, there goes Perry. So we finally got another edition of Tuesdays with Perry, another episode under our belt, episode 124. We'll be back next week for sure. Hopefully the feed went through well on Rumble. We'll see you next week, or you can join me tomorrow. Rudy's Revelation, every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m., live stream on Rumble. Peace out.